Fade in. Cut to.
Exterior. Interior.
Restaurant?
Bar. Club.
Day.
Night.
Action! What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to Restaurant Fiction, the podcast where we review fictional restaurants, bars, and clubs featured in TV and film. My name is Monis Rose. I am your host of Restaurant Fiction. Now, we have gone through a 2-year break, a 2-year hiatus, and there was good reason for that. We wanted to think how we can really improve Restaurant Fiction from the first, few episodes. And we figured that out. We are actually bringing you writers, directors, showrunners, executives, producers, pretty much any credible folk who has had a hand in said reviewed fictional restaurant, bar, and club. Speaking of which, today's guest is Phil Kellard. Phil has TV credits up the wazoo, if you know what I mean. He was a huge writer on Hollywood Squares, The Red Fox Show. He pretty much had a gigantic hand in Doogie Howser MD, that small show that put Neil Patrick Harris on the map. He even consults on the Saturday morning series The Inspectors. All of those TV credits are nice and all, but that's not the reason why he's on Restaurant Fiction. We've invited him on the show because he is an aficionado on the bar featured in the 1990 sitcom Martin, starring Martin Lawrence. That bar is called Nipsey's. He also knows a thing or two on the restaurant Pops' Joint, which was featured in The Wayans Brothers on the WB, when, of course, CW was called WB. Here is the review of Nipsey's and a conversation with Phil about the Detroit institution, as well as insight on writing and developing TV. Enjoy. Phil Kellard. He is obviously, he has a long list of credits. But he's talking about The Inspectors, which is on CBS, and he served as a
consulting producer.
A consulting producer. But before we even get into any kind of inspectors, if we will, I invited Phil here because he is an aficionado on Nipsey's, and Nipsey's was a bar that Restaurant Fiction went to. So, without any further ado, so Nipsey's is a Detroit bar.
Yes.
And it is located in the Elmwood, I want to get this right, the name, the Elmwood Park area. Like, it's near the Garden Court Apartments. It's right around the river, not really downtown, not really in the hipster downtown or the trying to be gentrification. And in a way, that's a good thing because
there's no hipsters in
no
Nipsey.
hipsters at all. Yes,
No,
and
locals only. In a way,
but Nipsey's would accept the hipsters. I feel
they would accept anybody.
Yeah, they really would.
Yeah.
And the reason why we say that, and the reason why, and this was really good because, so on the outside, Nipsey's would appear as a classy joint. They have these they have these green awnings.
Yeah, it was a very nice entryway.
Yeah, very, very nice. Almost like as if they were getting ready for Frank Sinatra to come in.
Right.
But and so when then you walk in, the only people wearing the nicest duds are the bartender and the cocktail waitresses.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, we had 2 cocktail waitresses, and one was, the character was Tracy, and that was played by Kalita Smith. Kalita went on to do Bernie Mac, played Bernie Mac's wife on the Bernie Mac show, and I'll remember the other girl too. But there was 2 cocktail waitresses and Nipsey basically, and that was kind of it for the main characters that ran Nipsey's.
And luckily they did class up the joint because other than that, it's called, there are characters in Nipsey's. And no pun intended, but these are not just questionable characters. These are just characters. So, what I really enjoyed, or what Restaurant Fiction really enjoyed about Nipsey's, was they don't focus on entertainment. Meaning, they don't have money for a DJ.
No.
They don't have money. They don't even have money for a live band. I mean, there is.
But we did have the Outcast played there.
Okay, yes, you did.
The Outcast played there because we did a show called All the Players Came. We did an episode called All the Players Came. And that night, it was Dolomite. It was Rudy Ray Moore. Pam Grier came as herself. Coolio. Antonio Fargas. Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch. Freddie's on the corner. And who else was it? I think it was... I forget who else, but it was called All the Players Came. And it was a contest. It was like, Martin, we did an episode about a 70s contest. So everybody came back to Nipsey's for that night. And Outkast played. And it was one of those episodes where you go, wow, look at all these people. Look at all these fantastic people in Nipsey's that night for that performance in that contest.
Besides, so you had better people to look at than just the bartender or the cocktail waitresses.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, the food we found at Nipsey's was subpar to a bowling alley. Nipsey's doesn't.
It wasn't a high. You weren't ordering a Chateauneuf de Pape with anything.
No. Yeah. It was. I mean, if you want your potato skins, if you want your onion rings, I'm sure you can get a better deal and on sale at the local convenience store.
Yes. Yeah, you could probably get it out of a vending machine better.
Yes.
What kind of wine goes good with that? Well, vintage 4 o'clock would be fine.
Detroit needs Nipsey's, is what Restaurant Fiction says.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it was a place that was jumping. It was a joint that was jumping. And I remember we did the whole lotto fever where Martin thought he won the lotto, and he did a backflip all the way down the bar once he saw the numbers on it. But, of course, the episode ended, he mistook the numbers, and he was already spending the money. So, of course, that's a typical Martin episode. But he did we did have him do some backflips across the bar. Not Martin Lawrence himself, but somebody that looked incredibly like him.
And that is why we recommend Restaurant Fiction. Of course, Phil Kellard recommends Nipsey's. So long live Nipsey's, and please, the city of Detroit, keep Nipsey's, and Nipsey's keep Detroit alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go there.
So Phil, how was that review?
That was nice. I thought it was spot on. I really did. I mean, I thought everything you said about including the jazz and everything, it was spot on. I would totally agree with everything you said in that review.
I mean, because
I don't have an issue with any of it.
Excellent. I mean, we liked. I mean, the saxophone and the fancy art and the obviously in the set or in the bar. Right. I mean, and we loved always the bartender wearing almost like all he needed was the jacket and it was a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, and Sean of course played Nipsey, who was great. It was fantastic, and and we had the rehearsal dinner for the great Wedding Bell Blues there,
which is an episode that you wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about really quick. Tell us about that. I mean, that episode, since you had a hand in it. Why set one of the most important meals inside Nipsey's?
Well, because the one thing about that is we had so much fun bringing all the families together, and some of them were staying at Martin's, and we needed that big block comedy scene, and where you're going to stage it beside Nipsey's, because you have all those families and all those personalities. We had Motherland Martin. We had, we had every conceivable family member, and we knew we were writing for an explosion. where everybody just was going to blow up. And we're better than Nipsey's because you're going to have dinner and people are going to get a little crazy and people are going to talk and people are going to drink. So you want to build to that scene, and that's the perfect place to have it was Nipsey.
How many times is Nipsey's pitched in the writer's room?
Nipsey's is probably always pitched. I think when you need a location, you have certain locations in your in a multi-camera show where you're going to set scenes. So you're always going to go to Nipsey's. I mean, pretty much in every episode, you're going to go to Nipsey's for a conversation or a bigger scene. So I think when you're designing a story, you're breaking that story and putting it in different locations. So whether it's an intimate conversation or a conversation that gets bigger among more people, Nipsey's would probably always come up in every episode once Nipsey's is established, because Nipsey's wasn't there for the first 2 seasons, I believe, because he had the radio show.
Right.
So when Nipsey's came in, it took that place almost of that set. So I think Nipsey's plays into all of it, especially like we were talking about the whole lot of fever, whole lotto fever,
Right.
LOTTO fever,
Where he does all the black flips.
where he does all the backflips,
Mhm.
and of course we had a stuntman come in and do the backflips, but it was so seamless, in editing. But it was just such a perfect thing for Martin, when he realizes he won the lotto, which he didn't. Those backflips down the bar. I mean, it was a huge laugh for us as writers, but a huge laugh when we played it back for the audience that came in that night for the taping. So Nipsey's is always going to play into pretty much every episode, because you always look at how many sets you have. Where can we do these scenes? Nipsey's standing set. We're going to do intimate scenes there. We're going to do big scenes there. So, yeah, it always comes into play.
Why is the jazz motif important?
I'm not sure how that came into play, but it sure looked like that was the tone of Nipsey's. It was that kind of Miles Davis kind of place in a way. I mean, yes, bowling alley, which you described
Right,
very
the
well.
food,
The
yes.
food. But I think the atmosphere was that kind of, Miles Davis kind of hang. So I think the art was important, and that saxophone was important to set up that kind of laid-back improvisational lifestyle that's going to be in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Does Nipsey's have a twist on the normal bar scene in a TV show?
When I look at Nipsey's from this perspective, after having done the show, going in there and looking at watching a scene being taped in there, my personal feeling was, I like it in there. I would like to hang out in there. So, yeah, I would say in that respect, I think it was like a cool place to, the way it was designed. I mean, you design it with your art director and your set designer comes in and they show you sketches that they want to do, and you go, okay, and this is good, and they usually have your thoughts in mind already before you build the set. But once it's built, I thought, wow, I would like to kind of hang out in here. Maybe I wouldn't want to order too much. If I would just want to drink.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I want to send something back. Maybe I want to wash my hands a lot.
And don't order a hoppy IPA here at Nipsey's.
Yeah, that's right. But I think the hang was great.
Okay.
The hang was very cool. I like the way it was designed.
Why have the characters always go to Nipsey's instead of any other environment? Why not just keep it in Martin's apartment or Shanae's salon or?
Right. Well, I think you've got to get away from it's why Friends had Central Perk. It's why Seinfeld had their restaurant that they hung out at, and the Soup Nazis and all that stuff. It's you need a place for the group to hang outside of their comfort zone, and to discuss whether or to have big scenes, to really have a place to hang. And it doesn't work for every show. There's not when you're designing a show, you say, where are these people going to live? Where are these characters going to not only work, but hang out? And those places that you create when you're developing a show create scenes for you. They create places to have scenes. So that's why I think restaurants and bars come into play a lot, not just in multicam, but in single cam also, because it's a place for them to kind of loosen up, have a drink, talk, have those big party scenes, all those things kind of play into when you develop a show. Where are these people going to live? Where are they going to? Where's the show going to live? It's not just going to live in an apartment and a workplace. There's another place. What is that? Is it a bar? Is it a restaurant? Is it a...
So it helps the actor out in a way, because I'm getting the sense, okay, I see a scene at the house, I'm going to act a certain way, but then I see a, interior bar, and my character has a drink in his hand. Oh, I'm going to act a different way.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I'm going to relate to my characters in a different way, whether I've had a couple of drinks, or I'm just mad, or whatever that situation is. You can do it in a place outside of an apartment or a house, or where the characters come together in a more kind of constrained way, because that's their family, that's their life. This is their hang. This is their fun. So the energy kind of moves up a little bit.
How significant is Nipsey's to the show, Martin?
I think it was huge, because it gave it gave us a place to hang out, of course, but have big scenes, talk about stuff in a restaurant situation where you're not in the workplace, you're not at home. And I think that's why bars and restaurants and stuff, places like that, work so well in sitcoms, because it gives you that air from the family life or the workplace. It's where everybody wants to go anyway.
Yes.
It's where everybody, you're frustrated, you want to go after work, or you want to go.
I want to get some shitty bowling food.
It's where we all want to go. So yeah. I think Cheers set it up that way. In a way, it's like where everybody wants to be, where everybody wants to be seen, talked about.
You contributed to this book called Inside the Room.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you mentioned a lot about always getting, like the idea of pitching a show. You want in the back of any writer's head, how are you going to get 100 episodes? Like, the 100 episodes, the syndication, the FU money.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, which is probably less now. It's not 100 episodes anymore, but it still, does the show have legs? Can it go on? Can you do 100 episodes in your mind anyway? When I was first coming here to do this with you, Monis, I looked at the shows I've done. At least 10 shows that I've done at least have a bar or a restaurant in them. I mean, Red Fox was the first half hour I ever did, as a writer. I had done Variety and all that other stuff, but that was the first show I did, and that was about a diner in New York City. And it was, he had a diner / newsstand, and it was Red Fox. I mean, here I am, and there's the premise. I mean, there it is. He's working his restaurant, and it's all jokes about catch of the day. Here's a can of tuna. Catch. That's the catch of the day. You're doing jokes about that, but it's about that. That's where he works. He has a diner in New York City. And Sinbad was on that show as the cook, the foster son. We had Vanessa Williams was the waitress for one episode. So, yeah, if I can trace it back to pretty much every show, there's something in my entire writing career has some bar or restaurant in it.
Do you, when you're developing a show, do you just say, I have to put a bar in here, I have to put a restaurant in here, or is it coming more naturally, or is it even coming from, hey, if I put a bar in here, think of all the funny situations I can have?
Characters really sell shows. Premises don't. You have to have a strong premise, but every premise has been done in one way or another. I don't care what you think of. You can think of the strangest premise. It's been pitched or shot or developed in one way or another. So the characters really help you develop that show. So I think that does come into play almost all the time. You're creating that space for those characters to have those emotions in that free space or whatever it is. It's that kind of playtime almost, We can be who we are because we're having a drink or we're eating or whatever, or dating or, those scenes. You almost always come back to that bar, restaurant, place. There's not that many places where you can put into every episode that will work besides a bar or restaurant.
It's not taken lightly either. The bar restaurant, like, hey...
No, it has to be right for the show. It can't be, like Martin, that's a very specific bar restaurant. Friends, all those places, very specific. Friends was that coffee place, So it has to be really integral to the show. It can't be just let's just give them a diner or whatever.
Phil's had a big hand in the Wayans Brothers, the TV show on the WB before it was the CW.
Yep.
Now, if you don't mind, here is a Wayans Brothers question.
Because, sure. Yes. Love those guys.
Oh, really? Had a good time?
Oh, I absolutely love them.
All right, good.
Yeah.
In the episode called Family Business, it dealt with, I'll tell you, it dealt with heavily with Pops's joint,
Yes.
heavily, and also like trying to sell or trying to do new things.
Yeah.
I think it was like a new character, a new guest star wanted to try to change Pops's diner up
bring
a bit.
It into yes. I don't know if we wanted to do foam at that point, but it was that kind of thing.
Yeah. But anyway, how did you personally treat Pops's diner, different than Nipsey's, or were there also a lot of commonalities?
Well, there were some commonalities. I think you wouldn't go to Pops for the food. You're not going to Pops for the food. You're going to Pops for Pops.
Pops.
Yeah, you wanted to talk to Pops. You wanted to get his, and Witherspoon John is such a wonderful man and such a wonderful guy. But I think you deal with both of them with respect for what they are. You respect Pops for what, you're never going to bring Pops into foam or, small portions. Or,
No, yeah.
Yeah. What is that? My steak under my garni?
Yeah,
but
we have a couple of restaurants in LA like that.
Yeah. Many of them. But you treat it with respect because you want the end of the episode to come back to Pops. You want it to be Pops again. You don't want it to be the new whatever somebody's bringing, changing Pops around, So I think you respect what you create. You respect Pops, how you created Pops, how you created that character, how you created that diner, how you created Nipsey's to be what they are. And yes, you may have an episode that's going to try to bring them into hipster generation or whatever, and make them a little bit more just a, a soupçon of sauce instead of, hey, here's your stuff. Here it is. Here it is on the plate.
So while I apologize, Phil. While you're talking to me, I'm still thinking about that joke, the catch of the day with the red fox. Every time you mention like, "Hey, catch of the day," I want to use that. Actually, it's that good.
Just a can of tuna. What's the catch of the day? Here,
it's that good. That's like the highlight of my week. That joke right there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And he's still making us laugh.
I know. Yeah, that's gold is what it is. That's gold. That's better than a dad joke. What are the fundamentals a writer needs to have when creating a restaurant or bar?
I think they have to have some sense of food and love that. I mean, I'm a huge foodie, so I'm okay out there. But I think and we're okay as writers because we can Google any recipe or Google anything to put in a script. But you have to have some sense of how am I going to do either jokes about this or do it realistically. So you have to have some approach to it. And your experience, of course, always comes into play. Whether you've had, we've talked about waiters or whatever, your experience in a restaurant always comes into play as a writer. And to me as a writer, you always bring your experience to it, bring part of it to it.
Was there ever a moment you're in the writer's room eating lunch, obviously, because many writers just love the lunch part.
Out of styrofoam, yeah.
And
if you get that order wrong for a writer, it's hell to pay.
No way. Really?
Yeah. And those poor assistants, they have to go out and get those lunches. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So they forgot the cheese on the cheeseburger or the double. The world.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Writers live on their stomach, It shows, sometimes you're living on your stomach because you may spend hours and days in a writer's room, so that lunch order is very important.
No clean eating in the writer's room.
No clean.
They probably like the Nipsey's food then.
Yes, actually, a writer's room, you just throw meat in there and shut the door.
What are you ordering at Nipsey's? And even go and
anywhere.
Or you can also say, what are you ordering at Pops's too? Because you mentioned both. But
I would order a chili size.
Where, at Nipsey's?
At Pops, basically.
Pops? Okay.
Yeah, Pops, I would order chili size.
Okay.
Smothered steak at Nipsey's.
Smothered steak at Nipsey's. And what are you drinking?
Probably a beer.
All right, just a beer.
Usually Nipsey's a beer.
Yeah.
Pops, something under the counter. We had some White Lightning, some hooch, something, I don't know.
Maybe some mead, some ripened mead going there, some fermentation stuff.
Anything he was trying to sell,
Oh, man, that's like prison style, Everclear strong.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Phil, this has been a pleasure.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been a pleasure for me, too. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. That was fantastic. We really appreciate that and you taking the time to come to our studio in Miracle Mile. For all of you listening, Phil, you can actually catch Phil in person. He teaches at UCLA with their extension program, so be sure to check out either online or one of their semester or seasonal catalogs. With Restaurant Fiction, you can always check out the reviews, including a full review on Nipsey's at restaurantfiction.com. Thank you once again. My name is Monis Rose, guys, and as always, keep it real, keep it fresh, and keep it on the flip side. Cut to
Exterior, interior.
Restaurant?
Bar.